How many games do you have in your gaming backlog? I have way too many, but there are 5 in particular that I want to talk about today because I finally finished them. Spoiler warning ahead, some of these games I am going to spoil, but to be fair, most of these came out a long time ago. So, but I just wanted to throw the warning out there. But here are 5 games that I have finally knocked off my backlog. It took until the year of 2025 for me to finally say I've beaten a Final Fantasy VII game. So the first game I want to talk about that I knocked off my backlog is Final Fantasy VII Remake. The first and only Final Fantasy game that I've ever beaten in my entire life. But I had a really good time with this, and honestly I wish I would have went back earlier to play this. This isn't a review, so I'm not going to get all into the story and all of that. I'm the one late to the party anyway. Y'all know what this game. I'm the late one. Y'all know what's going on. I turned out to the party real late, but I had a great time with this, man. I love the way they kind of fused the real-time action with the turn-based action and made it very digestible and palatable for somebody like me who I don't hate turn-based games. I'm just not the best at them, and they're not my favorite. So this was a nice balance for me. I liked using all of the characters. I didn't feel like anybody was really a weak link. I did get Aerith killed a lot. That's my fault. Use Air. But everybody was fun to use. Cloud, of course, the legend, the OG. Barrett was holding it down. Tifa out here, hands and feet. Tifa's a dog, man. Tifa was getting busy. Aerith keeping us alive with all of these spells. Crucial member of the team. So I did enjoy using all of the characters. Shout outs to Red too. Shout outs to the doggo. Wolf. What is he? I don't know what he is. But shout outs to him. He up too. And sorry, I'm gonna spoil some of this game too. Spoilers definitely incoming. But yeah, I enjoyed this a lot, man. It gave me some moments that really stood out to me. I liked a lot of the boss fights. The Hell House boss fight was a lot of fun. Reno and Rude. Anything involving the motorcycle I was here for. I'm so glad they let us do a motorcycle fight right before like the end of the game. That Leviathan summon fight was insane. I had to really work for that one, but that was I won't say it was fun, but it was probably the most rewarding. I felt like I really earned that one, and once I got it I was very satisfied. But I think my favorite fight was Rufus and Darkstar. That was a really dope fight. Just the way that Rufus moved, the way he fought, and the way that, I don't know, man, just something about the design of that fight really, really stood out to me. That was definitely the highlight, standout in terms of boss fights. And Sephiroth was Sephiroth. He that didn't disappoint. He was destroying me though. Boy, that fight was rough, but I got through it. But that fight did not disappoint. But other favorite moments, the running up the stairs scene where you get to choose between going up the elevator or the 59 flights of stairs. I can't remember the number. I'm a madman. I, of course, picked the stairs, so I got to hear Barrett complain and sing and do whatever else he was doing. It was 100% worth it. Would do it 10 times over. That was a great moment. Had a couple of dislikes. Chapter 14 in particular, the side mission, or might have been the main mission with Leslie in the sewer when he got the key stolen. Why did that part drag out so long? That kind of got on my nerves. Chapter 17 with Hojo helping with his little experiments. That part for me, that was a lot. That kind of wore out his welcome for me towards the end. The dance scene, the infamous dance scene. I finally seen that play out in full, and it was cool. Just it lasted a little too long for me. There were moments where I was like, "Oh, we're still doing this. We're still dancing." But all in all, though, man, I really enjoyed this. My plan is to go back and play Crisis Core to get more context for the story, and then I want to move on to Rebirth afterwards. But I'm glad that I finally finished it. I'm glad that now I have context for so much of the things that I've seen and heard throughout the years. So now I kind of understand. I see the hype. I'm on the train. I'm along for the journey. So yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake, man, had a lot of fun with this. So happy this is finally off my backlog, and looking forward to diving more into this story and seeing what they got going on. But yeah, first game I wanted to mention was Final Fantasy VII Remake. The next game I want to talk about that I finally got off my backlog is Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition. This joint is a banger. Now, Not going to get into the whole history, but this is basically a spiritual successor to the True Crime series for those who are familiar with True Crime Streets of LA, True Crime Streets of New York. Also similar to Grand Theft Auto, but much more spiritual successor to True Crimes. But this, oh boy, this game was a banger, man. You play as Wei Shin, who lives his double life. He's an undercover cop, but he's also part of the Triads. He's infiltrating the Sun On Yee, which is a Triad gang. So he's got cop missions to do. He's got Triad missions to do. One mission, you might be busting up a drug deal, tapping a surveillance camera, capturing somebody on camera and arresting them. Next mission, you're on a Triad mission and y'all are in a shootout and things are going crazy. But this game is so much action. It is brutal, but the combat and the gameplay is so good and satisfying. This is probably one of the deepest combat systems, at least in terms of games that are within like this relative genre of games like Grand Theft Auto and True Crime. So, it's fighting, but there are like actual combos that you can learn. So many environmental hazards. You can just throw people into all kinds of stuff, whether it be throw them in a trash can, hit them with a phone, fighting on top of a building. You might throw somebody into like an AC unit or a fan. There's so much to do in terms of environmental interaction. You got parries and like reversals that you can pull off. So much to do in terms of combat, and it is so brutal and satisfying. And that's not even mentioning the gunplay, because of course we busting guns out here. We in the Triads, of course we shooting people. The gunplay is not the best, but it's still pretty solid. And the driving also, that's a part of the game, is also pretty solid. Like this game, I would say the combat to me is a standout, but I think this game does everything pretty well, and it's so balanced and diverse in terms of gameplay and just the different kinds of missions that you can do. And the story isn't anything too crazy, but I think this game knows exactly what it is, and it did not stray far away from the formula. It knew what it needed to execute on, and it focused on those things, and it did them very well. Characters are simple, they're relatable. This is not a complicated story. You know what's going on, but it's grounded and it's relatable in that way. You'll find somebody you like, somebody who's gonna make you laugh because they just say some crazy, it's just some wild stuff. But man, this game is so good, man. It's so much fun to play, and I think my favorite thing about Sleeping Dogs that I think it did well is the balance of having an open world that's big enough to explore, but it doesn't feel so big that it's bloated. And within that world, there's enough to do if you want to do the side things to kind of keep you busy and keep you entertained. Because some games are open world, but there's like not a lot to do. It's just open world to be open world, and it's kind of bloated. But this is it's really just like the perfect size to explore, do stuff, but not feel like there's 30,000 different things that you have to do. It's like it's just enough to give you enough to do and be satisfied, and still feel like the world is big enough and it's worth exploring. So I thought they balanced that aspect really well. But man, the combat, the different outfits, the DLC, because this is the definitive edition, so you're gonna get to play the DLCs. The DLCs are fire. This game is just good, man. It's so good. If you want to just a really solid, really above average kind of action cop drama, it don't get much better than this, man. This game was fire, and I'm so glad I finally knocked this off my backlog. But yeah, if you've never played Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition, please go back and do so. You will not regret it. So the last game that I knocked off my backlog is actually a group of games, and that is the Metroid Prime Collection 1, 2, and 3. Finally beat all three of these. Took me a very long time. This was done over a course of years, and I just finished the third one this year. But that's besides the point. But yeah, these games were really good, and it was very interesting to see the progress and how each of these games is good within their own right for different reasons, and that they all tried different things. I think Prime 1, shout out to the Space Pirates and the Chozo. Prime 1 to me was the most Metroid-y game, if that makes sense. This was the one that I felt like I got lost in the most, where I felt like I did the most backtracking, especially towards the end, because I was stupid and I should have collected the artifacts while I was playing. I waited until the end, and that was a lot of backtracking. But yeah, this is the one that I got the most lost in. But so still, solid entry. You know, first 3D Metroid. I think they still did a good job. Then we get to Prime 2. Got the Lumineth and the Ing, and then we got this Dark Ether going on. And I think this one is probably my favorite one. Much bigger than the first Metroid Prime. You're traveling between the light world and the dark world. But for some reason, I didn't get lost that much in this one. For the most part, it was a pretty smooth experience. Maybe a little bit towards the end, I started to mess up and I had to do some backtracking. But for the most part, I was able to just get through this. But it did take a while because the world was just so much bigger. But I enjoyed the weapons. I really liked the beams. Hey, those beams were doing some damage, boy. Those beams were taking people out. But I really liked Prime 2, man. This the atmosphere, I think, of this one is unmatched, man. They did a really good job. This was kind of the height of the Prime series for me, personally. And then we get to 3, and 3 was interesting. I'd heard a lot of things about 3. 3 seemed to be a little divisive. I saw some people say they didn't like it. Some did enjoy it. And then when I started playing it, I was like, oh, this is really interesting. This one feels completely different than Prime 1 and 2. This one, within the first like 10 minutes, I felt like I was playing Halo. Like, it didn't feel like a Metroid game. It felt very point A to point B-ish. It was still a Metroidvania, but like bite-sized. Like, you know, you go into these different planets, and each planet is like a little mini Metroidvania, but the game overall felt like I'm just going from point A to point B, and I got these little different missions and things that I got to do. Not my favorite of the 3, but I did appreciate how different it was. I will say, though, positives for this game that I did really like. Just as a looker, this game looks beautiful. It has some of the best, I think, looking areas and biomes in the series. And the boss fights I thoroughly enjoyed. I liked, you know, it was sad we had to take out the homies, face on, corrupting folks. That one dude, I don't remember his name, the guy who was slapping your ship. If I can remember, I'm going to put it up on the screen. That dude was slapping the mess out of Samus's ship. He had to go, bro. I ain't want to kill him, but I kind of wanted to kill him because he was being super disrespectful. I know you corrupted, but bro, you gotta relax. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Had some of my favorite boss fights. I like being able to fight the crew. I thought that was actually pretty fun. I didn't get super lost in this one, but the most annoying part was close to the end for me. Most of the energy cells I was able to get naturally just playing the game. But there was one, there were two at the end that messed me up. But the one that really got on my nerves is the energy cell that you have to get in Brio. That, oh my God, I was losing it. I was losing it trying to get that energy. It was so much. It took me so long. I had to dock points, even though it probably was just me. I don't know. But that one took me so long to get. I was so annoyed. But overall, though, I did enjoy the game. It just felt completely different from the first two. Might be my least favorite, but I don't think any of these games are bad. That game was just different. Prime 3 was its own thing, and I appreciated that it wanted to be its own thing. Some parts of it hit, some parts didn't. But overall, though, I did really enjoy this collection as a whole. I'm glad to say I finally finished these, and now I'm moving on to Metroid Other M, which may or may not be a good decision. I've played that for about 2 hours, and it's been an experience. And I'll elaborate on that when I finish it at some point. I'll come back and let y'all know how I felt about it. But yeah, the Metroid Prime collection, great games. Had fun with all three of these for different reasons. But Prime 2 stands on the mountaintop for me. Well, these are the 5 games that I knocked off my backlog. And if you want to see me knock off more games from my backlog, follow me on twitch.tv/Serial Sensei, where I play games about 2-3 times a week, something like that. And let me know what games that you have recently knocked off of your backlog below in the comments. That is all I got for today's video. My name is Serial Sensei. Y'all stay safe, y'all stay hydrated, and I will catch y'all on the next one.